default. Let's see it. Roadcaster, duo. Are you able to hear me now? Let me check. Are you able to hear me now? Oh, you can hear me now. Okay, perfect. Are you able to hear me well? Is it clear? Everything's clear? Before I go on. Okay, you can hear me now. I don't know what the deal was. Anyway, so I'm walking up Georgia Avenue today. And Georgia Avenue is kind of a gentrified neighborhood. It's northwest DC, a little north of like downtown, anything like that. But it is northwest DC, and the prices reflect it being downtown DC. I mean, northwest DC. So a homeless man, he has a loose pit bull in DC. Pit bulls are, well, dogs must be on the leash. And, so it got me to think about all of the tenants that I've had over years and the problems, particularly the black tenants. Um, the dogs tend to be a very big issue with them. And let's see if I can share an article with you. But yeah, I'm going to go through some of my old tenants, and you kind of get an idea of like just how they have kind of used dogs is more or less like a weapon, I guess you could say. In some cases, kind of a weapon by using it to kind of threaten people or stuff like that. So I had a tenant. The first tenant I had with the dog that used it in an aggressive manner. Her name was Luria, and I've told the story before. She was a tenant of mine, light skin, not a bad looking young lady, and she got behind on a rent, but she had a big Rottweiler, and she was in a particular part of the house where the Rottweiler could sense when I was coming or when someone was getting close to her door, and it would start growling. And it was like her pit bull, like on her alarm clock or something. And she would use that. She used it very effective for a long time to kind of tip her off when someone's getting close to her door. And it was very effective. It worked for a very long time until she had to go home, and I made friends with the dog. How about that? How about that? And but the dog, it was a Rottweiler, and it had hip dysplasia. Uh, I don't think she cared as much about the health of the dog. I think she was using it more or less as a weapon, like a guard dog there. So that's the first tenant that I've had with a dog. And I'm like, man, it's like these black tenants. A lot of times they don't have the dog for like companionship. It's more, as a tool. And then I had another guy. Oh man, this was one of the saddest stories. And actually, right here in this house, the guy was moving in years ago. He was going to move into this house here, and as he was moving in, two pit bulls from next door, house next door, a Section 8 tenant had the pit bulls, and the pit bulls got loose for whatever reason and ran out and they attacked the guy. And they ate off both of his legs, one of them more severely than the others. One day I'm going to find those pictures. I know it's in the email box because I can remember it like yesterday. The guy had basically, he was in a wheelchair. He sent me a picture of him in a wheelchair with two nubs on his legs. And he was asking for his deposit back. And I'm like, man, what do you want from me? Like, my dog, I didn't eat you up. My dog, I didn't have any dogs that ate you up. And then there was another guy, and I can't remember his name. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but I don't know if he went to jail or if he met a woman and eloped for a bit. But he left a dog. He had a dog tied up in the back of my house for, it had to be months. It had to be months, right? I thought he was in jail. Matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can find that nigger's name because I still got it in my phone. And so he ended up going to jail, and the pit bull was tied up in the back of my house, and it tied up to a tree. And I'm gonna see if I can find this guy's name. Let's see if I have his name. But yeah, so the pit bull was tied up behind my house for, it had to be at least 2 months. And what was his name? Cletus? What the fuck was his name? I prank called that nigga if I could find his number. But yeah, so he had this pit bull tied up behind my house for months. And I remember calling the DC, the animal control, people like that, and they said, we can't do anything about it because I think pit bulls have to be, when they start to starve, they get stronger. Unlike, I don't know if all dogs do this, but this is at least what I was told. And so the animal control, DC government, animal control was a white guy. He came out and he says, I can't do anything until I can document that the dog is getting weaker. And he says pit bulls unfortunately get stronger. They have such body mass, muscle, or whatever that they'll get stronger before they eventually start to get weak. I didn't know that, and it was a revelation to me. And so the dog sat there for months. I mean, people would throw food at it, but no one would dare get close enough to give it any water. And it would rain. I guess the dog would drink muddy water. And then, well, where should I go? And then, yeah, I've had many other tenants. You heard me talk about the lady that didn't have the money. She had to move out. She was there a couple of days. She had a Labradoodle. I've had other tenants that, I had a one tenant. He bought a $5,000 French pit bull. That's kind of amazing. He was a Caribbean guy too. But right now, it's a funny story. I used to have a tenant, but now she's a tenant of one of my business partners. She lives right around the corner. And one day, and I have some pictures, and I'd see if I've shown you pictures before. And so, oftentimes, what will happen with a lot of black tenants, if they get down on their luck, one of the things they'll try to do is make money by selling dogs. It's a business. Hell, Michael Vick, isn't that what Michael Vick did? Michael Vick, he was in the business of selling dogs too. Which led me to this article here. I did not know this, but I don't know if you can see this. It says Black America's Dog, and it's the pit bull. This is an article, and it's basically saying that the pit bull is Black America's dog, and it's typically associated with aggressiveness, marked by controversy, connected to the intersectional struggles that the black community and other marginalized communities face, so on and so on and so forth. And then I saw something very, very interesting, and most people probably don't know this here. Let me see if I can pull up on the screen. This is a very interesting. In the DC area, we're surrounded maybe about 10 counties: Montgomery, DC, Montgomery, PG County. PG County is a primarily black county here. And I want you to pay attention to this right here. Pay attention to this right here. Let me see what you see here. Prince George's County has a ban on pit bulls, which includes the American Pit Bull Terrier, so on and so forth. It's one of the few counties, it's the only county in this area that bans pit bulls. And it is, by the way, the blackest county, the black county in the area. And they have had the sense enough to ban pit bulls primarily because they know who would own those pit bulls. You can see that the ban has been challenged in federal court, and the county has stopped enforcing it while the case is pending. But this is the one jurisdiction that does not want its residents to have pit bulls. You have to ask yourself why. Montgomery County, pit bulls are fine. DC, well, they're not going to ban pit bulls in DC, but the blackest county around here said we do not trust our residents with pit bulls. And so back to the pit bulls that I mentioned earlier, that my business partner, she has a tenant, and maybe I'll show you pictures of the tenant's house where she went into the pit bull breeding business, and oftentimes when they're breeding them, they're breeding like the Bully XLs. But I've often just thought, man, again, beyond the pit bulls, although most blacks tend to favor the pit bulls, I've often just thought, like, if I were a landlord, I would not take, dogs, particularly not pit bulls. I try my best not to take them. Oftentimes with these, what do they call it? The disadvantaged people, the handicapped people, things like that. They're trying to use, oftentimes they'll use those emergency service animals to slide their pit bulls under the regulations because no one would take them otherwise. So I figured I'll walk down memory lane, show you guys some of the things. Here's a guy. I almost forgot about this guy. It's been so many stories over the years, so many stories. Here's a guy. I've been texting this guy, and I end up asking him the question that I often have with many blacks, and you see it here. Why have the dog if you can't properly see about it? Dogs require a lot of time. You don't have that. My question, what is your reasoning behind having two, now one dog? Have you thought this through at all? Now, if you notice in this question here, I said, what is your reasoning behind having two, now one dogs? Why do you think it went from two to one? It went from two to one because he had a dog die in the room. And that is the other thing that I want to tell you, people that are considering being landlords and these type of things. Oftentimes, these people do not take care of their dogs, do not properly take care of them, do not get worms and all that kind of thing. They don't take them to the veterinarian. So this guy here, you can see him, he's texting me here. And he says, okay, blah, blah, blah. He had a dog die in his room. And he was texting me, like, and I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. So, I didn't respond to his call. Then he texted me and said, yo, I had a dog. My dog, he called me something. My dog died in my room. I said, when? He said, last night. I said, is it still in that motherfucking room? He said, yeah. He didn't even know what the hell to do with the dog. He's sleeping in a room with a dead fucking dog. That explains the behind two, now one dog. And again, these are the issues that, excuse me, that I faced by running to black people here. Excuse me. You have all these issues with the dogs, and oftentimes they're unable to take care of themselves. And here's another one. Here's the guy whose dog died in this room. I think this is another message from him. Here, you can see just more text messages. Hey, your dogs are making a lot of noise. Hey, are you up there with them? He said, I left to go to the grocery store. My apologies. You're making a lot of noise. You're there with them. Blah, blah, blah. You got to control your dogs. Blah, blah, blah. Your dogs make a lot of noise. Just took a shower, bro. They're clean. You're already been fed and used the bathroom, he said. But they're making a lot of noise and other guests are complaining. But this is a young man with two dogs. How in the hell can you afford to take care of two dogs? He can't. And so what he does is, what he did was he went and inconvenienced everyone else with the dog. And I think I have another picture here, another article here, just and shows you kind of like the depth of what I mean when I say like having black people with dogs as tenants, and you really face a lot of trouble here. And it's not an issue here with a dog per se as a tenant, but it does kind of highlight the bigger issue here. You see this? Dog dies after being hit by district dog's employee at Navy Yard location. Navy Yard is not far from where I am right now. And this was a black person that killed the dogs. He hit the dog, and the dog was boarding when it was physically struck by an employee. The employee told officers that during the shift he was feeding one of the dogs. One of the dogs got too energetic. In an attempt to calm the dog, the employee said he kicked the dog, and the dog lost consciousness. And you'll oftentimes see, if they are unable to, properly discipline a dog, the dogs often aren't trained, and they will resort to things like kicking the dog or beating the dog and things like that. And then we also didn't mention the cleaning up after the dogs. There's so many times. Let me see if I can find some messages here. And I find messages. There's so many times that I have to send messages to people telling them, to clean up after their dogs. And again, it's just one of those things I think that is probably just, will serve you best to not accept people with dogs, particularly poor people, particularly the black tenants. It can be a pit bull. It can be a very dangerous dog. It could attack someone else, or they could use that dog to ward you off and keep the landlord away. But on and on it goes, that you will see that, and I'm seeing if I can find you some messages of just dogs pooping in my yard. I've seen a few of them. But again, it's just one of those issues that as a landlord, dogs can be a real serious issue. They can be a very profitable foray to you for the people that can afford the dogs. You'll see that we even had dog walking. Let me see if I can share that with you. We even have had dog walking listings. Let me see, share this with you. I'll share my calendar with you, and I'll show you a dog walking listing here that we've had. So dogs in and of itself aren't necessarily bad, but you may want to, filter your clientele for certain dogs. Let me see if I can find a dog walking listing for you. So I'm not necessarily anti-dog, but yeah, you have to pick your poison here. So here's a listing that we had. Let's see if the title. It's not listed anymore, but let's see if I can get it to come up here. Yeah. So here it is. Yeah. And here's kind of one of the listings that we had. There was kind of a dog stay. You can see this dog sit and stay. We had two of them, I guess, because this is a dog sit and stay too. So there are ways you can make dogs profitable, but I think that it has to be services around it. The poor people typically looking for dogs. Yeah, I would side against renting to them, regardless of color. But definitely, I'm just being honest. The black people with the dogs, you probably don't want that. It's probably more liability than the reward there. Anyway, again, this was a stream that I wanted to get out. I think it's very important. A lot of people have issues with dogs as landlords, and I've had my fair share. But the bigger thing that I face more than anything is the menacing nature of the pit bulls. It tends to run the other guests away. And again, if they end up biting someone on or about your property, you could be liable for that as well. So it's just one of the things I would avoid. I'll go through the comments here before I end the stream. I think Stanley's coming up shortly. Herman says, I love pit bulls. What did he say? But it's a coin flip depending. Yeah, that's what everyone says. It's their upbringing. Craziest thing is in New York City, you see a lot of like white hippies with pit bulls. And they would be the most docile dogs, it seems, you could ever find. But then you see other pit bulls, and they're just very aggressive. I think it's just the potential that, for me, is just not worth it. I think if you're going to have that, that kind of dangerous dog, it probably shouldn't be in the city. And it definitely should be on a leash, or there should be some serious punishment for people, walking more or less a dangerous animal off a leash, damn near a hyena of sort. Why do you like pit bulls, by the way? Of all the dogs you can like, what is it about the pit bull that people tend to like? I just have never figured that out. Just the vicious nature of it would kind of turns me off of. But what is it that you like about the pit bull, Herman? I'm interested. Just the serious damage that I've seen them do to other people. I can't justify allowing those. I'm a pretty libertarian type guy, but I don't see the benefit of having those kind of dogs in the inner city. But anyway, this is just a kind of a topic that I wanted to cover because I had my run-in with the pit bull this morning, and I just thought about all the issues that I've had with dogs over the years, and I just can't see a good reason for taking them in the from the poorer tenants. But anyway, I'm not totally foreclosed against it because, again, I showed you this listing, which is dog sit and stay. But again, guys, I think Stanley's starting up, so we're going to be streaming over there again. Thank you for joining. This is just a short stream. John Galt, didn't your friend have a problem with pit bulls peeing in his runway? Which friend? Shit. I've had him. I had a problem with a lady. Well, that wasn't a dog. Was it a dog? No, it was a baby taking a shit and not cleaned up. But my tenant, let me see if I can find this message from it. Yeah, I can find this. This would be a good one to show you because I had one of my business partners, her let's see if I can find her. My business partner, her next door neighbor, was considering suing her. And one of the things she wanted to sue her was because of rats. And the rats were coming because of the dogs were not being, their feces was not being properly disposed of. And that's probably the biggest thing is that, oftentimes these people are not going to clean up after their dogs. They're not going to do it. And so if they're not cleaning up after their dogs, if you have a backyard, they're going to allow their dog to use the bathroom in the backyard. And the rats are going to come, and the rats are going to eventually enter your property. And that is the problem that my business partner and her next door neighbor were having, and her tenant as well, because Let me see if I can find this tenant. But the tenant wasn't cleaning up the backyard. The rats came in, and they ate up all of the appliances, the wiring in the appliances. So they destroyed, the washing machine, the refrigerator, and things like that. So anyway, in the inner city, the poor people, I would not rent to them with dogs if I could help it. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. I'd love to hear you guys comment in the comments there if you have any thoughts about pit bulls and should they be banned, should they not be banned. Again, I showed you that what was it? Prince George's County has banned them, and I also showed you this article here where it says pit bull has been. It's kind of like Black America's dog here. I did not know that. Black America's dog, written in 2019 by John Rappert. Anyway, thank you guys for joining. It's been a great stream. Oh, boost my audio volume. Yeah, next time, hood assertive. Time to time, I just do some streams over here on Streamlabs. So it's typically like a one-person affair until we figure out how to get more people up on the stream. But let me know how that sounds. I tried to boost it up a little bit, but I've been bouncing back and forth between studios here. So anyway, thank you guys for joining.